Greetings and a good evening. Welcome to the Atarangi. Today we will look at textures. Since there's a wide variety of topics to cover here, I will list them in order. I don't know the timestamps yet, so I will use this green screen to show them to you. First off, we will cover procedural materials. Then we will talk about PBR textures, also known as image textures. We will follow that up with using AI to make some tileable image textures. Then we will quickly go over using Materialize to turn images into full textures with normals, roughness, etc. Then a bit about painting textures, followed by mixing different materials. Finally, some bonus stuff at the end. As usual, before we get going, you can get free or paid material packs all over the place, okay? Let's get started then. First off, procedural materials. These are textures generated in Blender. The advantages are that they are infinitely adjustable, animatable, and have an infinite resolution. The main disadvantages are that some of them are quite heavy on performance, and they can't be directly sent into game engines or other such programs. You would need to bake them for that. There's a tutorial about that to your left. Alright. Turn fully around to see some good channels and videos to get some instructions on how to make these. It's a node-based system, I'm sure you can figure it out. But if you plan to make some materials for yourself, I would recommend... turn around for a bit. Thanks. So, I recommend this noise pack by Simon Thomas. It will help you make some of those materials just a bit faster. And don't forget you can use images as a part of your procedural textures as well. Speaking of images, let's go over to PBR textures. There we go. Now, PBR textures are a series of images that represent color, roughness, emission, normals, and even displacement. Displacement only works in cycles currently, but alpha versions of Blender have it in Eevee, so this feature is coming. PBR textures can easily be gotten from places like textures.com, Polyhaven or Polygon. Both paid and free. You can also go and take a picture of a floor or wall by yourself. Make sure to use a good camera and do it under diffuse lighting, like on a cloudy day or with a softbox or something like that, to prevent highlights and harsh shadows. You can also generate a picture using AI instead of taking one. We'll go over that later. And using Materialize, you can now turn those pictures into full PBR materials. Although your own picture is probably not a tiling texture, but there's ways to fix that. For example, manually in Photoshop, or you can use some tiling tricks. This sand here in this desert village, for example, is not a tiling texture. I just used some techniques. Here is it without the techniques. I'm going to point you to some of the nodes that I used by Blender Guru. They are very useful. They include a material mixing node. I didn't happen to use this one on the example, but it's still great. A color variation node. I did use this one. And an untiling node. I used an untiling node, but I didn't end up using Blender Guru's one. I preferred the untiling node by Erendale. I added an extra slider onto it because I wanted to turn off random rotation, but here's the result. Let's talk about the AI shortly. I used a local install of Stable Diffusion. It's a bit complicated to install, I'm not gonna explain it here, but if you don't feel comfortable doing it, there's sites that let you use these AIs online. So, you just input a prompt of what you need. I'm no expert here, so with better prompts you would be able to get more specific and consistent results than I do. Be sure to check the tiling option and you'll be just fine. Most PBR textures in this video come from the AI. The AI generates only a picture, no roughness, no normals or displacement. For this, you can use Materialize, as shown on the screen. Just generate the maps you need. To do this, you can just play with the sliders till you get what you want. If you need more specifics, you can watch this tutorial. Don't forget you can touch up the texture maps by hand. If you can't get the results. If you can't quite get the right results in Materialize. Next up, there's texture painting. Behind you there's some mushrooms and radishes that I hand painted. To learn how to do this I would recommend, as usual, the mushroom tutorial by Ryan King. The painting topic will get its own video in the future. Now let's talk about mixing materials. Let's use this scene as an example. Zoom into that. So this is only using the textures. To put the moss on top of the cube, I just selected the faces and assigned a different material. For the second image I used the polygon PBR mixer with a noise texture as a mask, as well as the color variation node to vary up the forest floor. Here is the node tree, and here's a zoomed in version of it on the important parts. Now on to the next one. Here I drew a mask to add moss onto the concrete wall. Here is a tutorial for that, and I did not do a very good job. Just look at this mask here. I'm sure you can do better than this. Here's the notes though. Now here is the You must be getting bored from looking at these images. Turn around. There, that's better, isn't it? Now, I used a more advanced version of the noise mask, where a height map is used. Zoom in on the bricks. If you look closely, you can see the dirt is following the cracks in the bricks. Here are the notes for that, and if you need more details for it, you can watch this tutorial. There's also this one by blending PBRs that kinda belong together, like planks and then partially painted planks, chipped paint on the planks, etc. by Blender Guru. I did not do this one myself, so I'm stealing his footage, because I'm lazy. Now I would like to show you this tutorial by Lewis Animation. Also stealing footage, because I didn't do it. It talks about glass, but the main point of me showing you this is that it's the best showcase that I have found of just using the nodes clean and simple. They show the procedural material creation, using images and PBR in the node setup, and even texture painting and masking. It's all explained very clearly and very simply. Let's move on to some extras. There's a lot of fun stuff you can do with animated textures for motion graphics and stuff. In fact, the screen you're watching is a texture. In fact, it's the same material I used to make paintings. You can look at this tutorial for more info on that. And here are some bonus tutorials and resources I found after writing the script. I didn't manage to get these in time, so I also didn't do them, so I'm stealing stuff for this. The spaceship nodes here by Christopher Fraser are very useful. They help you with edgeware, grunge, even some paint options for your spaceships. They're available on Gumroad. There's also these tutorials by Two Dancing Clams. I don't know how they made them, but they did. It's about unwrapping your geometry in GeoNodes to apply textures more properly, even allowing you to curve bricks on a curvy road and stuff like that. Or I guess just curve road lines on a road if you're using a texture for that. I also forgot to mention trim sheets, which is just a big image file with all of your textures on it for a big object. For example, in this video there's a house that just uses one big texture. It's great for game assets, as you will only need to load in one texture instead of a bunch of different ones. It's also used by Invensia. He uses a single texture that's just a few pixels in size, and then he just assigns different parts into a pixel. It's very clear what he does if you just watch one of his videos. Just here are a few of them. If you need to mix materials in a very advanced way, very advanced and very good, you can look at these videos by Wayward Art Company. The very advanced stuff is not for free, but if you need it, you need it. Turn back around and look at the big board of tutorials. Maybe you'll spot something you like. And I'm thinking this is the end. Signing off, we'll see you next time. I did that way off script, but I did it great. Yeah, I like it.